109 teams to go in my road to predict all 131 teams this college football offseason. Now we're on to the Wisconsin Badgers, a team that is all too familiar with the Big Ten championship game, although they could not get back there last year. This was a Wisconsin team that had its ups, had its downs last year, but ultimately could not find a way to get back to Indianapolis. Yet again, a defensive-led team. They're losing quite a bit of talent as well on that side of the ball and all around this football team. So can Wisconsin, in a wide-open Big Ten West, push their way back to Indianapolis, or will this Wisconsin team fail to reach Indianapolis for the second straight season? What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. Welcome to my channel. And hey, I'm predicting all 131 teams in the Big Ten. Or excuse me, I should say they would miss out in the Big Ten championship game. I just caught my mistake for the third straight season. But anyway, guys, if you guys want to see when your favorite team gets uploaded, because I am doing all 131 teams, make sure you hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, so you know when that video gets uploaded. And guys, especially Badger fans in this video, but to anyone out there that watches any of my videos, you guys are going to know a lot more about your favorite team than I will. So if you feel like I missed something, you want to add something onto the video in any way, shape, form, leave in the comment section down below. I'd be happy to read through them. Let's look at Wisconsin in 2022. Are they going to miss the Big Ten championship game for, correction, the third year in a row? Because they missed it in 2020. They missed it last year. They're my 6th ranked team in the Big Ten in 2022 coming in. As we continue to talk about teams in the Big Ten West in that wide open division, in my opinion, the most wide open and yet possibly could be the most competitive division in all of college football, maybe besides the SEC East. This was a Wisconsin team that went 9-4 last year, was 6-3 in conference, so just a win or two away, or just a win away from getting into Indianapolis. But they did go to a bowl game, and they beat Arizona State. So good on Wisconsin for able to get into a bowl game and winning that bowl game as well. But again, this was such a defensive-led team last year. They were the best defense in the Big Ten in terms of yards per game, with not even 240 yards per game. That is stupid, ridiculously good. 16.4 points per game allowed there as well. They were one of the best defenses in the nation last year. But as with is the same story with the Iowa Hawkeyes, the team that I just talked about, you guys would have seen earlier today. Wisconsin is a team that needs to improve parts of their offense, including the quarterback play and passing game. Their rush game, it's Wisconsin. They're going to have good backs. But 371 yards per game last year, 210 of those on the ground, with around 25 points per game last year, and you would like to see those numbers go up. So for Wisconsin in 2022, again, same story, improve the quarterback play, which we'll talk more about in a little bit. But under Paul Chryst, you do have some talent leaving this team, and it starts out with the running back room and Jalen Berger. So Jalen Berger transferred out over to Michigan State to go be the running back over there now that Kenneth Walker's gone. Was not very productive last year, but has been a solid piece for this Wisconsin team over the course of his career. In the wide receiver room, you definitely lose some talent, including your 3 leading wide receivers, or 3 leading pass catchers, I should say, from last year. That is Danny Davis, Kendrick Pryor, and the tight end Jake Ferguson. Around 1,300 yards and 8 touchdowns between the 3 of them. When you look at the offensive line, you lose some guys and pieces there. Defensive side, you lose linebacker Leo Chanel and linebacker Jack Sanborn, who were your 2 leading tacklers last year. 96 for Chanel, 77 for Sanborn. Also 2 of the leading sack men on this team. You also lose Noah Burks off that defense as well. 4 sacks for him last year. And in terms of the defensive backs, Faion Hicks, Caesar Williams, Scott Nelson, Colin Wilder, a couple of the names that are leaving that Wisconsin defense there as well. Colin Wilder and Caesar Williams each had 3 picks last year that tied for the team lead. And then others, again, like Faion Hicks, had 8 passes defended last year. So you're definitely going to miss a lot of production on the defensive side, but it's Wisconsin, and you usually reload that side of the ball. And they should again this year. Keanu Benton, Isaiah Mullen back on the defensive line. Nick Herbig is the highest leading tackler coming back for this team. Had 61 last year. And I believe was their leader in sacks last year. He had 9 of them. Also, CJ Goetz at the linebacker position coming back as well. Not a huge part of the defense last year, but figures to be a bigger part of the defense coming into 2022. You also got a transfer defensive back in Jay Shaw. Graduate transfer should fit in at cornerback, although can play some safety as well. But some other guys coming back for this team in John Torchio and Travian Blaylock. And John Torchio, 35 tackles, 3 interceptions for him last year. He was a really, really good part of that defense last year and is coming back. Looking on the offensive side, though, for Wisconsin, you return your leading rusher in Braylon Allen. Also, Ches Malusi coming back as well. Braylon Allen had 1,268 yards and 12 touchdowns last year. Malusi, 815 yards and 5 touchdowns last year. You also return wide receivers Chemere Dike, Keontae Lewis, and tight end Clay Cundiff should be able to come in and replace Jake Ferguson, although those are some big shoes to fill. Graham Mertz is coming back at quarterback. Only had 1,958 yards, 10 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. And it's the same story with Iowa, right? Graham Mertz needs to get better at the quarterback position. Otherwise, Wisconsin is going to have a harder time getting to Indianapolis. A look at the Wisconsin schedule now in 2022. You got Illinois State, Washington State, and New Mexico State as home games in the non-conference slate. When you get into conference play, though, again, much like conference with the Big Ten, things just don't get easier. Road games against Ohio State, Northwestern, Michigan State, Iowa, and Nebraska. And then home games against Illinois, Purdue, Maryland, and Minnesota. So, guys, let's go ahead and kick things off. Kind of running through talking about this schedule for Wisconsin. Again, no really interesting non-conference games. Although when you look at Washington State, they are getting Cameron Ward, a quarterback over from Incarnate Word, who figures to be one of the better quarterbacks in the 2022, or I should say 2023 draft class next April. So Cam Ward maybe can take that offense to the next level there at Washington State. Haven't really had as dynamic of a passing offense or as dynamic of an offense, period, since Mike Leach left for Mississippi State. That's going to be a very, very interesting non-conference game to watch, and I think it's going to be an interesting test for both of the schools. I start with a W. When you look at their conference slate, again, your crossover games on the road against Ohio State, flat out going to be a hard game to win this year. Wisconsin's had trouble beating Ohio State in the past, and they haven't really been able to do it. They've had their shots in the Big Ten championship game. In the regular season, they haven't been able to get it done. And this year also does not seem favorable for them to get it done when they have to go on the road and play what should be one of the best teams in America. Also on the road against Michigan State and Spartan Stadium. Michigan State not going to be as good as they were last year in my opinion, but that's still going to be a pretty good football team there for Michigan State. When you look at other games, or their other crossover game there, home game against Maryland, that's going to be a fairly interesting game there as well, as Maryland is starting to get some bigger expectations and is looking to take that next step in 2022. And then, of course, the games that I talk about with all of the teams in the Big Ten West, the games against the other teams in the Big Ten West. Most notably for Wisconsin, Purdue, Iowa, Nebraska, and Minnesota. Those games, you're going to see tiebreakers. You're going to see crazy things because those are the games that you have to win, because those are the games right there that very well could determine on whether or not you make it to Indy or whether you watch the Big Ten championship game from the locker room. I don't game-by-game predictions. That I do a more percentage-based outlook to help me predict the team's record in 2022. So games in red are games you're probably not going to win. Games in orange are games you're still probably not going to win. But hey, it's college football and upsets can happen. Yellow are your 50-50 high upset potential games. Games in yellow-green are games that you should probably win, but watch out for the team on the other side of the ball. And games in green are games that, again, you should win. Illinois State, New Mexico, games in green, or New Mexico State, I should say, should be able to win both of those games. And then, again, like I said, watch out for that Washington State team with Cam Ward at quarterback. Who knows how dynamic that passing offense is going to be last year? or next year, I should say. And again, Wisconsin, a team with usually a pretty solid offense, or pretty solid defense. My apologies. Pretty solid defense. We'll see how much they can keep at bay there with Washington State, who figures to have one of the better offenses in the Pac-12 coming into 2022. When you look at the conference slate, you only see one game in orange or red. It's the game against Ohio State. It's just flat out going to be a hard game for Wisconsin to win. It's not going to be an easy one. Again, Ohio State figures to be one of the top 2 teams in the nation, and that's going to be a very, very tough environment as well for Wisconsin to go play in. And they've had trouble beating Ohio State in the past, and again, this year just doesn't seem favorable. Your other road game, though, against a Big Ten East opponent at Michigan State, I do have in yellow, because again, Michigan State not going to be as good as a team that they were last year, but statistically, that was one of the worst defenses in terms of yards per game in the Big Ten last year. So if quarterback play can improve in Graham Mertz, Wisconsin's definitely going to have one of the better run games in the Big Ten, and that defense should still be pretty solid as well. Wisconsin could be able to go in Spartan Stadium and pull out a win there. But again, the most important games on this schedule are the games against Purdue, Iowa, Nebraska, and Minnesota towards the end of the season. They are your most important games because they are the games against the teams that you are trying to jockey position for Indianapolis with. Illinois and Northwestern probably will not be making it to Indianapolis within the next coming years. But when you look at the other 4 teams from the Big Ten West on that schedule, coin flip them, right? I mean, that division race is as close as any division race in the country, and it probably involves the most teams as well, with 5 of them. Any one of the teams can go ahead and win that division. Purdue, in my opinion, has the second best quarterback in the Big Ten. Iowa is always feisty on the road at home. You can never count out Kirk Ferentz in Kinnick Stadium. Nebraska, this figures to be Scott Frost's best team yet. In Minnesota, just is supposed to be another really solid team this year. Overall, though, for Wisconsin, I do see them having a pretty solid season. They are my 3rd team in the Big Ten West to go 8-4. If you guys want to find out who the other 2 are, go watch my other Big Ten videos. But yeah, I see this Wisconsin team having another yet solid season, although I don't know how much of a step up they're going to take. Again, Graham Mertz has not proven that he can be a grade A quarterback and has not proven that he can take this passing game to the next level where it needs to be to kind of complement how good this run game of Wisconsin usually is. The defense should hold up its end of the bargain. The run game should hold up its end of the bargain. It's whether or not the pass game can do the same. 6-6, 10-2, my record projection for the Wisconsin Badgers. They very well also can make it back to Indianapolis in 2022. Guys, that's going to do it for my thoughts on the Wisconsin Badgers. Be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe. Do anything you can do to help support the channel. And guys, remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. I'll see all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.